That's just the thought. It's kind of weird, but yeah, price is weird in VR. It doesn't necessarily equate to your experience.
It is, especially for me. Like I use my Valve Index as my daily driver for VR, but I do not recommend people spend $1,000 for this kit right now, because in today's VR market, that is a lot of money, and you are not really getting the experience for that price. It is outdated. So even though I love the headset to death, and people call me a Valve fanboy, I do not usually recommend this headset. I usually tell people either to wait if they really want a PC VR headset, which I know sucks for people to hear, or I tell them, if you don't mind Facebook, you can dabble in VR with $300 and wait for something amazing, because PC VR hardware right now is in a very weird spot. So.
Very weird spot. Yeah. I almost want to pick your brain on it, but I feel like I'm like beating a dead horse, because we've like every single person I've spoken with on the show, or even just on Twitter or Discord, is like it's a dead horse conversation. And as much as I would love to pick your brain on that, it just seems like it's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
What I really want to pick your brain though on Steamdeck. I'll be honest, I'm not a Steamdeck believer. Not in the sense of like it's not going to be a good thing. Like this, like people compare to the Switch. Bullshit. Don't compare the Switch. The Switch was 4 years old technology when it launched, and I don't know when it launched. What was it? 2015, 16?
It was something around there, 16, I think.
So it was old tech when it launched then, and now we're in 2021, and Valve, who never seems to be price conscious, just gave you on the low end a $400 pretty damn good PC handheld. Insane. Like, so I'm a believer in Steamdeck in the sense of what it is. Like, it is impressive. I'm bummed to fuck that I was working the day that pre-orders went live, and now I'm going to be waiting until 2022 for it. But it is an insanely impressive piece of tech. But the VR community took it like hard on its VR capabilities, and I want you to tell me why. Like, make me a believer on Steamdeck being VR, but then I want to go into Gabe's little interview, because I have some questions for you on that.
Yes. So first of all, I'm gonna just go into an ego trip here.
Okay.
I've been making a lot of predictions about future Valve hardware for 4 months. Everything that the Steam Deck is aligns with everything I've been predicting. Everything. So I feel very happy that now when I start talking about this, I can just point to the Steam Deck and say, hey, I was talking about this 4 months back. Please listen to what I have to say, because I am only saying it because I believe that the Steam Deck actually does mean a lot for VR, even if it's not the Steam Deck itself that means a lot. That being said, I will be modding the heck out of the software for Steam Deck. I do see some VR capability. That was weird. And really, I think it's more of an actual software issue for getting VR running on the thing than actual hardware. I think the hardware is there. It's stronger than the SoC in the Quest 2, for example.
Yes.
Will it work with VR out of the box? No. No, it won't. It's going to be a pain in the butt. But there's so many amazing technologies and rendering technologies. I'm going to put away what Valve's working on for a second just to talk about some of the examples. AMD FSR, which is their like competitor in a way to NVIDIA DLSS. It is a rendering upscaler. So basically allows you to render things at a low resolution, but upscales it while not making it look like garbage, basically. Huge gains for low tier hardware, really. That's the biggest gain. And there is actually a modification that came out like a week ago that allows you to put a certain file into any single Unity or Unreal VR game to let it just work. Stuff like that will make VR a lot more attainable on the Steam Deck. Will it be an amazing experience once we get it running? It's going to be about what you expect. It's not going to be amazing. That being said, I believe the Steam Deck is a mid-step for what we're going to see in a Valve Index 2 compute unit, which every single patent I read, there was 3 that came out today. Every single patent mentions the idea of making the Index 2 a hybrid and standalone unit. What? There's so many benefits, first of all. I want to explain, first of all, there is way more benefits to having an SoC than focusing on standalone. Valve is not going to focus on standalone content, first of all. They are still very heavy-handed in the idea that PC VR allows amazing openness and a lot of amazing experiences, obviously with graphical power and able to throw a lot of physics and things, which physics is amazing for VR, first of all, and CPU power is very reliant on that. But anyway, at the same time, they're also working on a lot of interesting methods to allow split rendering between a PC and this compute unit in the next index. So not only will it's very trivial to explain like this, but I don't want to spend a long time talking about it. I made videos on this if you want to know more. But basically, it's like kind of how virtual desktop works with its own asynchronous space warp technology going on there. Except it's on insane levels because it's using some insanely new tracking new tracking technology that allows tracking up to 1,000 to 2,000 hertz, which allows the compute unit with the PC and in the Index 2 to actually predict movements way in advance to allow the computer to start rendering these things well. It'll have eye tracking. It'll have all these things. So foveated rendering, for example, is something that people are kind of talking about and also downplaying. But for anything, whether standalone or PC VR, eye tracking will give a lot of headroom to allow better experiences, especially with compute units like this. And I even see the idea or the concept that would be attainable for Valve is to have a compute unit very similar to the Steamdeck in the Index 2, and will have the same capabilities to work together with just the Steamdeck itself to actually get a good VR experience to allow more headroom for the Steamdeck to just render the game.
Can I ask you a couple questions on the Valve Index?
Absolutely.
It's semi-pushback, but it's more me as someone who is not following Valve as much. Because I live vicariously through you, going through the pads and stuff. Like, I'm going to let you do the hard work, and I'm going to read the TLDRs. But from someone on the outside looking in and reading into Gabe's comments and things like that, I got a couple. For one, I have a concern. Not a concern. That's the wrong word. I don't have any concerns. His interview mentioning Quest 2 running on the Steam Deck. There were some, and I actually understand where they're coming from, they actually were worried about that comment, thinking that was them saying we're now into portable PC rather than VR, because why are we saying a competitor can run on this when we know damn well the Valve Index isn't going to run on that? Were you a little concerned that maybe was him saying we're not bought into VR?
So anyone that said that probably did not watch the entire interview. Literally, that was a 30-minute interview, and any time Gaben speaks, he is relating something VR related or BCI related. Gaben is so freaking passionate about VR. It's crazy. The idea that this man who has millions of dollars is pursuing the idea that VR is a mid-step to brain-computer interfaces is just going to give up on VR, PC VR, while also making portable devices run everything on Steam in an open platform. No, that there's nothing to worry about there. The real content, so that clip, and I actually kind of spread that clip around. I'm gonna be honest. It was on my.
That's where I saw it, man.
It was a way to kind of get people excited, because there's so many benefits to PC and PC VR, and the openness is one. This is gonna be running on Linux, for example, which is the most open platform like that out there. And he's showing an example of like features that you can actually do, but at the same time, this question he was being asked was about the openness and like sort of the idea of what's the benefits of not using Windows, for example, or your own operating system that's closed. And Gaben and the rest of Valve believe that this openness is actually what sprouts innovation. So it's even beneficial for them to allow the Epic Games Store or a competitor that has their own VR unit to work. And at the same time, if you look at, I mean, all these Quest 2 users are plugging their headsets in and using Steam. Of course, it benefits Valve.
Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the daily clips, or catch the debates and Fireside Chats live on the main channel down in the video description. See you next time, Space Cowboys.